Retro Racing Reports from Gardena Stadium, November 1958. It's the Thanksgiving Night Grand Prix, Monza style. They've been running at Gardena since 1955. JC Agajanian revived the event and brought it to Gardena. So 55 through 59, they ran at Gardena, which is also called Western Speedway sometimes, as the Speedway was located at 139th and Western in Gardena. It was a third-mile oval and dirt surface. The program we have is from the Thanksgiving Grand Prix. They ran a Monza-style 150 laps this time, which means they ran 50 laps, then they stopped, then they reset the field, ran another 50 laps, stopped again, reset the field, another 50 laps. Whoever had the most accumulated points through all of that wound up being the winner. We'll cover that in a bit. The years they ran the Grand Prix at Gardena were 55 through 59. And they used a largely generic program, printed program, each time. There's a story that comes with it, and here we go. Story of the Gilmore Grand Prix. It was several decades ago in 1934 that a visionary gentleman by the name of Earl Gilmore built the stadium wholly designed for the newfangled Midget automobile racers. At the time, it was decided that a Grand Prix race on Thanksgiving evening would climax the season of racing. It didn't take long to establish the Grand Prix as one of the nation's ranking racing classics behind the Indianapolis 500-miler. The first year saw 18,000 people, a capacity house, file into Gilmore for the initial Grand Prix. Capacity crowds with early sellouts were the motif throughout the history of the Grand Prix. After the 1950 Gilmore Grand Prix, the stadium came down to make way for progress, to be replaced by a multi-million-dollar edifice to house CBS television, and the Grand Prix was forgotten by some. One individual who didn't forget was JC Agajanian, who saw all the old Gilmore races and liked what he saw. Aggie, one of the nation's leading race promoters, is finally reviving the traditional Turkey Day Grand Prix after a 5-year lapse. The spot is Gardena Stadium, but otherwise, Aggie is picking up most of the old familiar customs and traditions. The distance, 150 laps, is the same championship grind of years past. Again, instead of starting on an inverted order basis where the fastest cars start in the rear, as is custom for races during the year, there will be no penalty for fast qualifying. The speediest qualifiers get the front row spots and will charge from there. Several of the old familiar faces will be tooling speedy Offenhauser mounts around the Gardena quarter-mile strip today. One of the starters, Danny Oakes, won the Gilmore Grand Prix 10 years ago in 1945. He's not considered a strong contender this time. No matter who is the winner, he'll have to go some to top the performance of the late, great Bob Swanson, who won the initial Grand Prix in 1934. Swanson, charging around cars like he was driving alone on the race course, is a picture still remembered by a few older auto race fans. Or the brilliant Ronnie Householder, winning in 1936 and 1937. Ronnie, now a well-to-do businessman, was a heady and able chauffeur. The 1948 winner was Billy Vukovich, better than whom there have been very few race drivers. A couple of the favorites in this year's outing will be old-time greats of the sport who have yet to make the Grand Prix grade. They've won most of the other top races in their chosen sport, but not this one. Tony Bettenhausen, second in this year's Indianapolis 500, is a 9-time starter at Indianapolis, holder of more championship car points than any active driver, and he'll fly back to his home, Tinley Park, Illinois, Friday morning. He'd like to bring the Grand Prix trophy with him. Then there's Johnny Parsons, who's closest to Bettenhausen in championship point standings. The handsome Van Nuys driver has won Indianapolis, the national AAA driving title, but not the Grand Prix. You'll see a brave band of athletes out there at Gardena Stadium Thanksgiving night. They ask no quarter, nor do they give any. It will take a great performance to win this race, you can be sure. And here we have the race results as charted in the program. They ran 3 events, 1958, for the Gilmore Grand Prix. And the first event was 50 laps, followed by another 50 and then another 50. The first one, cars were set up by qualifying order. The second event was a total inversion of how they finished in the first one. And the next one, starting inverted order of finish from the previous one. Whoever had the highest number of points gathered from the 3 events wound up our champion. The winner in the first event was Joe Garson, followed by Roger Ward and Johnny Parsons. Billy Crantel was 4th, and Gilhammer was 5th. The second event wound up with George Amick first. Second was Dempsey Wilson, and third was Roger Ward, followed by Joe Garson. The final event was won by Clark Templeman. Second went to George Amick. Third was Joe Garson, followed by Dempsey Wilson and Roger Ward. Total number of points overall, in the end, wound up with Bullet Joe Garson, the 1958 Gilmore Grand Prix champion. Be sure to like, subscribe, put your comments down below, and share this video.